Hey, I've been talking to a lot of people about their real estate experiences, and I'm starting to see that there's a lot of confusion and a lot of misunderstanding and a lot of basically lack of understanding about real estate. And I really believe that as a real estate agent, it is my job, first and foremost, to educate my clients. And so I was going to make a quick video and just let you know some of the things that I find are probably the biggest misconceptions and probably things that frustrate buyers and sellers the most. And the first is about representation. So people always wonder if they need a real estate agent in a transaction. I will get to that on another video. But the reason people don't want representation is usually because they have to sign this big contract and it says that we're going to represent you for a year and then afterwards you have this long, and it just sounds really binding and scary. And what happens if I really don't like you? What if I don't think you're doing a good job? I feel like I'm stuck with you. And that's not true. First and foremost, a real estate agent's job is to do what you want. And if they're not doing it and they're not communicating, and you just don't feel like they're representing you, you have every right to fire them. It doesn't matter what your contract says. The contract does not say that if they're not doing their job, you can't fire them. One thing to point out, first of all, I'm in Texas, and I'm going to be talking about Texas rules. Your state, if you're living in a different state, is probably fairly similar, but you want to verify things. But no state's going to require you to stay in a contract with someone who's not doing a job. Second of all, your contract is not between you and your real estate agent. It's technically between you and the real estate agent's broker. So if you're having trouble with your real estate agent, first go and contact the broker. Let them know you're not happy. Let them know what's going on, and they can reassign you to a different agent. If you don't like the broker either, you don't like the whole office, you've had an awful situation, you can, in writing, say, we terminate this contract, and it's terminated, and then you may go find somebody else. That's on the selling side. On the buying side, it's exactly the same. If you're looking around with someone and they're not answering their calls, they're putting you off, they're never available, they're sending you houses that don't match what you're looking for, and they just don't seem to be listening to you, you can fire them too. So don't ever feel like you are stuck working with someone who is not doing their job. I've had friends tell me about situations where their agent didn't talk to them for 6 months, and they wouldn't answer their calls, and they wouldn't drop the price when the sellers wanted to drop their price, and they were just completely unavailable. And I said, why didn't you fire them? And they said, we can't, because we had a contract that said we had to work with them. And then it said that 180 days after the contract, we still couldn't use anybody else. So we have to wait for another half a year before we can list it again. And I said, that's not true. You can fire them anytime. And the clause that they were talking about with 180 days, that is built into some contracts, but has nothing to do with you being able to relist your house or to find other representation. What that means is if somebody looked at your house while Agent A had it listed for you, and then that person decided after you fired Agent A, or the contract ran its course or whatever, if somebody who looked at it while Agent A was representing you and they decide to buy it, Agent A still gets a commission. That's what that means. It doesn't mean you can't list it again. For the most part, Agent A has to provide proof that that person looked at it while he had it listed, and generally they can't do that. So that clause in there really honestly doesn't mean much, because the agent's required to do a lot of things to make that clause enforceable, which they don't usually do. So basically, down to the very basic, what I'm trying to say here is that if you are in a real estate contract with an agent to either buy or sell, and you are not happy and they're not doing their job, you have every right to fire them and to find somebody else. Don't feel like you're stuck. If they are not providing professional pictures, if you're a seller and you're not getting professional photos, you need to be looking around. You're paying a commission. What's it getting you? It should for sure be getting you professional photos. If they're not giving you a weekly follow-up on what's been happening with the market and what's been happening with your house and the feedback they're getting, they're not doing their job. If they aren't giving you advice on home staging, if they're not giving you advice on ways to get the house ready when somebody's coming to show it, if they're not doing these things, they're not really working for you, and you need to find someone who is. I hope this is helpful. I know it's kind of long, but hopefully somebody out there realizes something new that will help them out.